Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. So this is the continuation of Norain report. So let's proceed to the lexical accept and semantic of verbs. So this concept focuses on the inherent temporal properties of verbs. It's about the nature of the action or state a verb describes, specifically whether an action is momentary or extended in time. The text highlights the main categories. So state verbs that describe a state or condition. For example, she is happy, he has a car. So the activity naman is a verb that describe ongoing action or process such as he is eating or I am writing. So the achievement verbs that describe a complete action or accomplishment. For example, she's finished the project. So finish. So he reached the top. So the main action here is reach. So the last is accomplishment. Verb that describe a complex action that involves a process and resulting state. So they build a house. And she paint the room. He cooked dinner. So the complex action here is build, paint, and cook. So let's proceed to the argument of structure. So the argument structure, this describes the number of nouns, arguments associated with a verb and their relationship. So the three argument is first one argument, the verb is intransitive and the noun is the subject, Millie and jog. So for example, Millie jogged here. Millie is the subject and the verb is jog, so doesn't require an object. So the two argument, one noun is the subject, the other is the direct object or locative prepositional phrase. So for instance, Lloyd drank the beer and Andrew lives in Richmond. So for example, Lloyd drank the beer. Lloyd is the subject and the beer is the direct object. It can also include a locative phrase specifying location, or Andrew lives in Richmond. Last is the three agreement. One is the subject, one the indirect object, and one the direct object. So, for instance, Len gave me a book, or they can function as subject, direct object, and locative. Rhonda put the vase on the table. So, example, Len gave me a book. Len is the subject, me is the indirect object, and a book is the direct object. Another example with a locative, Rhonda put the vase on the table. So, this is the three argument. So, let's proceed this. So, the meaning of first paragraph is the challenges of capturing the full meaning of a verb simply by describing its grammatical structure, transitive, intransitive, or its lexical accept, punctual, durative, and ones in meaning often go beyond these basic categories. So the second paragraph is the expert present Charles Fillmore's work from 1968 as a method for addressing this challenge. Fillmore's approach emphasized the importance of examining the semantic rules of the participants in a verb action. So the arguments he showed that difference in meaning are reflected in the types of arguments a verb we can take. So the third paragraph is illustrative examples, touch, strike, and break. So the cure of the excerpt uses example to demonstrate Fillmore's point. The verbs touch, strike, and break all involve some sort of action upon an object. So however, subtitle difference in meaning related to the force, nature, and result of the action, a patent when considering the types of object they can take. So the meaning of touch can act upon animate or inanimate objects, suggesting a gentle interaction, and the meaning of strict suggests a more forceful impact than touch, and the object can be animate or inanimate. So the meaning of break implies a strong impact resulting in damage or destruction, and the object must be inanimate and fragile. So this difference in meaning are not solely grammatical, they are rooted in the semantic properties of the verbs themselves. The text emphasizes that this semantic distinction must be incorporated into lexical entries, dictionary definition to provide a comprehensive understanding of the words. So let's proceed to the semantic fields. So a semantic fields, as we have been attempting to show, words can often be really understood only in terms of their relationship to other words. On a very simple level, when an ESL student asks what use means purpose, the best explanation would be to use its antonyms or opposite and reply not tried. This explanation would not work, of course, unless and the student knew the meaning of the antonym. So another concept that is helpful in defining words in relation to other words is the concept of semantic fields, a cluster of words that cover a particular semantic area and can best be understood in relation to one another. Example of semantic fields most often cite and kinship term and terms for color in language. The precise meaning of the color words can best be understood by seeing it in relationship to other words that cover the spectrum. So sa madaling salita, semantic fields. Finally, the excerpt introduced the concept of semantic fields. This concept emphasizes that a word's meaning is not isolated but is understood within a network of related words. The meaning of a single word is the best understood by examining its relationship to other words within its semantic field. The example given, kinship terms and color terms, illustrate how the meaning of a word is enriched by understanding its place within a broader semantic context. So let's proceed to no one-to-one correspondence. The text suggests the defining words, especially in semantic fields group of related words, is difficult because there isn't perfect one-to-one correspondence between a word and its defining features. This is illustrated with adjective denoting physical attractiveness, beautiful, pretty, and attractive, which share some but not all features. So this is the table of 3.1 to limitation of discrete feature analysis. The table 3.1 attempts a componential analysis, breaking down the meaning of these adjectives into binary, future, present, or absent. However, the text acknowledges that even this approach is not entirely satisfactory. It may miss subtitle nuance in meaning and might lead to disagreements on the exact future characterizing a world. So the text suggests that most worlds have fuzzy meaning their definitions aren't sharply defined. So let's proceed to the concept of prototypicality, fuzzy boundaries in categories. To address the fuzziness of meaning, the text introduces prototypicality. So this concept explains that members of category or mammals may not all perfectly fit the defining criteria. So a platypus, for instance, lay eggs deviating from the typical mammalian characteristic of live birth, yet it's still considered a mammal. So the central versus peripheral members protopicality suggests that some members of category are more central or typical than others. So a bear is a more prototypical mammal than a platypus because it aligns more closely with the common characteristic of mammals. So the last is application to verbs. This concept is extended to verbs of speaking like say, tell, speak, talk, mention, remark, and comment, shout, and whisper. So a componential analysis would reveal that some features are true of some verbs but not others. So some features are more central to the category verbs of speaking than others, so influencing how we choose a prototypical for instance. The first verb listen are considered more prototypical than other, like whisper of mention. So let's proceed to the use of lexical items. The use of lexical items and the issues of synonym. So no perfect synonyms. The text begins by stating the truth. Synonyms, words with exactly the same meaning, are rare. While some words might seem synonymous, there are usually subtle differences in meaning, usage, or connotation. So the true synonym is rare. Words rarely share identical meanings. Subtle difference exists even between seemingly interchangeable words. Teaching vocabulary effectively involves highlighting these nuances rather than presenting simplistic synonyms is the key points. So the partial synonymy, the most efficient way to teach vocabulary is often to present words with partial synonym, acknowledging the difference between seemingly similar words. So the key points is teaching vocabulary effectively involves highlighting these nuances rather than presenting simplistic synonyms. And the contextual factors, meaning is heavily influenced by context. The text highlights factors like dialect, British English versus American English, register, formal versus informal, and age group that all affect word choice and meaning. So, for instance, shocking illustration how context dramatically alters a word meaning. So let's proceed to the collocation. Collocation refers to the habitual co-occurrence of words in a language. Certain words tend to appear together more frequently than others due to conventional usage rather than strict grammatical rules. So the collocations are important because words frequently co-occur in predicatable patterns governed by convention rather than strict grammatical rules. So these collocations are a key aspect of language and are studied under the term collocation. Different types of collocation exist: adjective, noun, and adverb, adjective, and verb, direct object, with some being more fixed than others. So corpus linguistic research confirmed the prevalence of these collocation patterns in natural language. So this is the text provide example of different types of collocation. So adjective, noun, a tall person, not a higher person. Adverb, adjective naman is statistically significant, no, not importantly significant. And the verb direct object naman is ask, answer a question, and note, say, tell a question. So that is it. So let's proceed this beyond collocations. The text acknowledged that previously discussed concept of collocation roles frequently occurring together, but state that this is only one aspect of how words combine. It points out that many words combinations are more fixed and predicatable than simple collocations. So the key ideas is the tendency of certain words to appear together frequently. However, it argues that this is only a superficial level of analysis. It emphasized that many word combinations are far more structured and predictable than simple collocations, exhibiting a degree of fixedness or semi-fixedness. So the some key points, the lexical and grammatical blends is the text highlights that this fixed or semi-fixed combination often involve a blend of lexical choice, the specific words used and grammatical elements, the grammatical structure surrounding those words. So the example of the verb insist in illustrative insist can be followed by various grammatical construction. Insist that insist on the noun phrase, each creating a slightly different meaning but forming a predicatable and recurring pattern. This demonstrates that word combinations are not random but are governed by systematic rules. So yeah, that's it. So let's proceed to the lexical collocation versus topic-driven association. So the text distinguishes between two types of word occurrences. So the lexical collocation, this is refers to syntactically constrained collocation where the occurrence of one word strongly predicts the occurrence of another. Professor often appears with university, teach, or publish. So the example lexical collocation is given is the strong association between words like professor, yeah, and words such as university, teach, or publish. So that is it. So the topic-driven association naman is this refers to more general association between words based on shared topic or them. These are not tightly constrained syntactically. So there the example, for instance, they are not aesthetically predicatable as the relationship is based on semantic coherence rather than strict grammatical rules. So yeah, these are the looser association between words based on shared topic or them. So the last is lexical phrases and lexicalized sentence stem. The text introduce the concept of lexical phrase. So the lexical phrase, this is a group of words that occur together and serve specific function in discourse. They are more fixed than simple collocation. So sa madaling salita, lexical phrase is there are multi-word units that function as single units of meaning within a sentence. They are relatively fixed and serve specific communicative function. So the lexicalized sentence stem naman is there are fixed sentence structure with specific meanings. They can be short, close-led, or longer multi-clausal. Examples are provided to illustration the fixed nature and specific function of this stem. So the text also notes that many seemingly less fixed phrases allow for more expansion or substitution. So sa madaling salita is these are entire sentence structure that are largely fabricate with fixed grammatical forms. So, and lexical content, these function as ready-made units for expressing particular meaning or performing specific communicative act. The test provides example of both close-led and multiclausal lexicalized sentence stem. So, yan lang po ang aking report. So, thank you sa pakikinig and wassalam.